Hello, Tennessee history. Hope you're doing well. The last lesson, what we had, it ended on Tennessee had celebrated its 100th anniversary of being a state in the United States. Before that, we had talked about the end of Reconstruction in Tennessee. Things were starting to be rebuilt. People in Tennessee, anybody could vote. It wasn't just those that had not supported the Confederacy. They had a new governor, and so things were looking up in Tennessee. So they celebrated their 100th year anniversary of becoming a state in the United States of America. And so things are exciting. It's the end of Reconstruction, the end of a century, and now the beginning of a new century, the 20th century. And so things would change in Tennessee and in the United States in the 20th century. One initial change for Tennessee was on April 17, 1905, the state flag was created. And before we go on, just remember you want to make sure you take notes on this lesson, and you can use these notes for your assignments this week. On April 17, 1905, the state flag was created and introduced by Leroy Reeves. Leroy Reeves had made this state flag, and when you look at the picture of the flag, it is red, covered in crimson, and it has a blue circle with 3 stars in it. The 3 stars are a pure white that represent the 3 grand divisions of the state. Remember, we talked about that at the beginning of this school year. Tennessee has 3 grand divisions. You have West Tennessee, where we live, where Memphis is, and you have Middle Tennessee, where Nashville is, in that area. Then you have East Tennessee, where Knoxville is. Of course, like I said, it's all regions. It's not just those cities. But those are the 3 grand divisions, West, Middle, and East. And those are what the stars, the white stars, represent. And so they are all bound together by the endless circle of the blue field. It's a blue circle that is around the 3 stars, and that circle means they are 3 divisions that are together one. They become one state, the state of Tennessee. So there are 3 divisions, but they all together form one state, the state of Tennessee, and they are united together. And the colors also all across it are red, white, and blue to represent the union it had with the United States of America. And so just as the American flag has red, white, and blue, the Tennessee flag has red, white, and blue as well in support of America and to show that they are part of the United States of America. Moving on, in the 20th century, education became more important in the state. Seymour Minders became the new state superintendent, and he made education a priority for students in Tennessee, for young people in Tennessee. High schools were made as well as normal schools. Well, what is a normal school? Aren't all schools normal? Well, this is a different definition of normal. It doesn't mean that it's just the way a school is supposed to be with different things that are needed for a school. A normal school was a school that trained people to become teachers. So it was like a training for teachers, a teacher institution of how they learn to become teachers. And so it was called a normal school. And so those were made in addition to high schools. In the mid-1900s, the fight for women's rights began to resurge. Remember, we talked about that last week of how specifically in Tennessee and across the nation, but specifically in Tennessee, there were women that were trying to get rights to vote and other rights as American citizen, for women. And it began to resurge in the mid-1900s. Now, there were opponents of women getting rights. The opponents were called the National Association Opposed to Women's Suffrage. They would speak out and say, well, women don't need these rights. It's going to take away them becoming a woman, and that just sounds crazy. They deserve rights as much as men do, and so. But these groups would speak out, but they weren't very organized and they did not last long in their actions. In 1914, the National Women Suffrage Association voted to hold its convention in Nashville, Tennessee. And so what they did is they, in Nashville, Tennessee, spoke of how women deserve to vote. Do women deserve rights? Now remember, suffrage does not mean suffering. It means to vote, to have rights. They continue to, fight in years, with not much progress. But then in 1917, women could vote for the first time in the Lookout Mountain District only. So not across the whole state and not for everything, but in the Lookout Mountain District only for elections for like mayor or different people in that area, women could vote. And that was a huge deal. Before, women could not vote at all. And now they could vote in this district. So you could see that it was starting to progress that women would be able to vote and have more rights. Well, in 1919, women were given the right to vote for president. So they could vote for president, but they could not vote for state representatives and for governor and things like that. And so, but then in 1920, Tennessee became the state that helped pass the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment was to give women the right to vote. It really gave everyone the right to vote and rights as an American citizen. But before that, women did not have the right to vote and other rights as a citizen. So this would give them that right. Well, the United States, there was one more state that needed to approve in order for this amendment to be passed. Now, it doesn't mean that there weren't other states that couldn't approve this, but Tennessee became the state that helped pass the 19th Amendment. When they voted in favor of it, in support of it, they would use it, or that they were in support of it. The 19th Amendment passed, and women were given the right to vote along with other rights as a U.S. citizen. This was a huge deal for women because there were certain things they couldn't do, and now they could do them because of the 19th Amendment. In 1917, in April 1917, the United States joined World War I. The world was at war. Germany had supported Austria-Hungary in its declaration of war on Serbia, and Russia helped Serbia, and Britain and France helped Serbia as well. And then the war really just turned to Germany versus Britain and France. Well, America joined World War I to fight against Germany, and they would help Britain and France. Specifically, Tennessee's involvement in World War I. Tennessee provided almost 100,000 soldiers, and they provided money to help the United States in the war. So 100,000 soldiers from Tennessee would fight in World War I. Tennessee provided a weapon factory. So in order to fight, especially overseas, they needed weapons, and Tennessee provided a factory that made weapons, and this factory was on the Cumberland River. And so Tennessee provided soldiers. They also provided, a way to make weapons in order to fight in this war. Specifically in the fighting, Lieutenant Edward Buford from Nashville brought down enemy airplanes. He was a very important soldier in doing that from Tennessee. There were other soldiers as well that helped fight from Tennessee that helped fight in World War I, but one in particular, one of the most prominent and significant, important one is Sergeant Alvin C. York from Fentress County. York took part in the Argonne Forest offensive in France, and so they were attacking Germany and France. There was a problem, though. York got lost from his unit and was surrounded by German soldiers. So imagine how scary that would be. You are with your group. You away from home, away from your state, away from your country, and you are fighting another nation, one that speaks a different language, ones that want to attack you and hurt you. And so you're with your group, but then you get lost from them. Have you ever been lost from family or friends and you didn't know where to find them, whether it's at the store or whether it's at church or wherever? You get lost. How scary that is. You don't know where they are. They don't know where you are. You may not can contact. You might have your phone, but he did not have a phone. He could contact his unit. So he was surrounded by German soldiers. Now he was probably hidden, but there were soldiers all around him. But York, he fought and killed 20 German soldiers, and he took 132 prisoner by himself. He did not have help from his unit. He did not have a friend there. He did this all himself. Wow, how awesome is that? Alvin C. York, what a soldier. What a man. Wow. Doing all that all by himself. That's crazy. As a result, he received the Medal of Honor. He was given a small farm. A school was named after him. And there is a statue of him in Nashville. So, look at him. He definitely should be honored for all that he did for Tennessee and for his country while in World War I. Well, the United States would defeat Germany and the war ended in 1918 and the treaty was signed in 1919. In 1922, in 1922, Austin Peay became the governor of Tennessee. Tennessee was, entering the 20s and things were going pretty well, but there were some problems that were happening in Tennessee, and Governor Austin Peay was going to make changes to help fix these problems. Now, Austin Peay, why does that sound familiar? Well, on Highway 14, it's also called Austin Peay Highway. Austin Peay Highway is named after Governor Austin Peay. Another thing that is named after Austin Peay, Governor Austin Peay, is Austin Peay State University. It was named after him, and it is a school and college that is, still being used today and educating people today. So those two things were named after him. Well, what made him such a great governor, and how did he fix these problems? Was one, he divided the state government into 8 sections. He divided state government into 8 sections, and these were agriculture, insurance and banking, health, labor, finance, taxation, public works, education, and highways. Some of those, were together. Those that were together were insurance and banking, finance, taxation, and education and highways. But he made these so that it wasn't just the government had to address every single little issue, all on its own. Instead, he made divisions and sections of the state government so that those sections, there would be people in charge that could, help with problems in those areas. So it wasn't like the state government had to focus on agriculture and on highways and on education and health. No, they would, but it would be a department. It would be someone else focusing on that instead of just everybody focusing on all the problems at once. Well, as a result, the quality of living in the state got better. The state had new roads. The state had new schools and so much more. And Tennessee was better off through this method of government. And so Austin Peay was very smart in doing this. In 1934, Austin Peay helped organize the purchase of the area of where the Great Smoky Mountain National Park is in East Tennessee. And so he helped establish that and was involved in that. And I've actually been there. It's very beautiful. Maybe you've been there. If you haven't, get a chance, go to East Tennessee to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. It's very beautiful, and it's a fun trip. Definitely worth going. But he was an excellent governor. He did a lot for Tennessee. We'll talk a little bit more about what he did next week. But he was an excellent governor. Well, for this week, your two assignments are, one, you will do a worksheet on the state flag. It will kind of do what we just talked about, what the stars mean, kind of what the colors mean, what the circle and all that means. And so I will have a worksheet on the state flag for you. And then I will have questions over the lesson. After what we talked about on the state flag, I will have questions that you answer in complete sentences about what we have covered in this lesson. So remember, write those in complete sentences and do that. And then I have, like I said, the worksheet for the state flag. Those are due this Friday at 5 o'clock. But I hope you have a good week and enjoy learning more about Tennessee history.